The next topic is understanding limited range. This is something that gets people in trouble without them knowing about it. If you don't know what you don't know, you can't improve it. So let's take a look. We're speaking about tonal values here, which is our way to measure how bright or dark something is in a drawing or painting. In nature, we can think of luminance as the intensity of light that we perceive coming from a surface or even a light source. Just like you can measure values on a scale from black to white, you can measure luminance on a scale from an absence of light to an abundance of light. Imagine you're going into a cave with a flashlight. You go deeper and deeper into the cave, and then your flashlight flickers and goes out. You're now in utter and complete darkness. This is the bottom limit of the luminance range, the complete absence of light. Now imagine yourself in a spaceship, flying towards the sun at a very high speed. As you get closer and closer, it gets warmer and warmer, and the incredible power of the sun blinds you, and if you keep going, eventually, the intense radiation will completely dissolve you in light. This would be the high extreme of the luminance range. If we compare this luminance in nature to the range of an artistic medium like oil paint, we can notice two things. Black oil paint is brighter than the absence of light, because the only way to see a painting is to shine light on it. The brightest value we can create with white oil paint is not nearly as bright as looking into the sun. So overall, oil paint has a smaller range than nature. This can be a big problem. Now, if we compare oil paint with a digital screen, a screen is actually a light source. A strong digital screen can get brighter than white oil paint. But on the dark end of the spectrum, black oil paint is darker than the black we can get on most digital screens. Charcoal has a range that is similar to oil paint. A white piece of paper and white oil paint are both pretty bright, and black charcoal goes about as dark as black oil paint. A soft 2B pencil on white paper can't go as dark as charcoal, so the range is smaller, and a hard 2H pencil will be even more limited on the darks. Let's look at examples of this. Here's an oil painting by Gyula Bencsur. The value range is bigger than the value range in this pencil drawing by Paul Baudry. And here you can see the limited range of a 2H pencil compared to a 4B pencil. If the range of value in your subject is larger than your medium can express, you're forced to compress values. There's just no way around it. So it's worthwhile to understand what options you have. If we measure luminance on a scale from 0 to 100, from the absence of light to the brightness of the sun, we have to translate that to the limited range of our medium, for example oil paint. This translation is called value compression. We can do a linear compression, which means showing all the value differences and just making them more subtle. Or we can compress at the extremes of the range, on the dark end and the light end of the spectrum. Compressing at the extremes increases contrast. This results in a more brilliant and convincing light effect. Here's what it looks like in an image. This is the original drawing, and this is the same drawing with a smaller range and a linear compression. And this is a compression at the extremes. Same range, different compression. Can you see that it has more punch, more presence, more realism? Here's a side-by-side comparison. Both images have the same range, but the right has better compression. The linear compression looks a bit washed out in comparison. Watch out for this. This will happen to you if you don't pay attention. With many things you draw, the chances are pretty good that your subject has a bigger range than your medium. So you're forced to compress. You're going to compress. If you don't think about it, if you don't understand it, you might end up with a washed out image. If you're interested in realism, compress the values in your drawings and paintings at the extremes of the range. Another thing that gives you more realism is having a bigger range to begin with. I remember when I was studying in Florence, there was a kind of competition that we were constantly looking to extend our range in charcoal, trying different types of charcoal to see which one could give us the darkest dark. Someone found a type of compressed charcoal that was darker than anything I had used before, And I used it in this drawing. I put it in the background, and it gave me much more range to show the form. This is a histogram with the curves adjustment that you can make in Photoshop and many similar programs. And here I'm compressing the darks. And here I'm compressing the lights. And this creates contrast. The center of the value range remains mostly unaffected. Alright, so this is value compression. And tactically, you can also think of this as making sure that both your light family and your shadow family are unified. In the shadows, that usually means making your reflected lights subtle. And in the lights, that usually means keeping the light halftones, or the center light, very subtle as well. The image on the right has the same range as the image in the middle, but it has better compression and value organization. I encourage you to apply this information. It's going to make your work stronger and give you more freedom